There's a moment, just a split second, when a brand stops being special. You don't notice it at first. The logo is still there, the packaging looks the same, and the product seems unchanged. But something feels off. The excitement fades, the magic disappears, and before anyone fully understands what changed, the entire business starts collapsing from the inside. That's exactly what happened to Krispy Kreme. This wasn't just a company that sold donuts, it was a company that engineered obsession. People didn't just buy from it, they chased it, waited in lines, drove miles, and planned visits around one thing, that moment when the "Hot Now" sign turned on. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Krispy Kreme didn't lose because of competition, and it didn't lose because people stopped loving donuts. It lost because it misunderstood what it was actually selling. And once you see that mistake, you'll realize it was inevitable. The real product was never the donut, it was the experience. And the moment they tried to scale that experience like a commodity, everything started to break. At first, nothing seemed wrong. In fact, everything looked perfect. Growth was back, investors were excited, and partnerships were expanding. When the company announced a massive collaboration with McDonald's, it felt like the ultimate validation. Millions of customers, thousands of locations, and unlimited distribution. On paper, it was genius. Take a beloved product, plug it into one of the largest food distribution systems in the world, and scale it overnight. But that idea contained a hidden flaw, one so dangerous that it would quietly destroy everything the brand stood for. Not all products are meant to scale the same way, and Krispy Kreme ignored that. To understand why, you have to go beyond business strategy and look at human psychology. Think about the first time someone experiences Krispy Kreme the right way. They don't just walk in and buy a box. They see the production line, watch the dough transform, smell the sugar in the air, and then they're handed a warm donut that feels almost unreal. That moment creates something powerful, memory. Not just taste, but emotion. And emotion is what builds brands. But emotion doesn't scale easily. You can't mass-produce a feeling, you can't distribute it through supply chains, and you definitely can't store it on a shelf. Yet that's exactly what Krispy Kreme tried to do. Instead of protecting the experience, they tried to multiply it. Instead of asking what makes them special, they asked how to sell more units. And those are two very different questions. The moment you shift from experience to volume, you stop being a brand and start becoming a product. And products are replaceable. At first, the strategy seemed logical: expand faster, enter more locations, reach more customers, and make the brand more accessible. But accessibility has a hidden cost. The easier something becomes to get, the less special it feels. Scarcity creates desire, and effort creates value. Krispy Kreme removed both. When donuts started appearing in supermarkets, gas stations, and eventually chains like McDonald's, something subtle began to happen. The brand stopped being a destination and became an option. And options are compared. Compared on price, compared on quality, and compared on convenience. That's a dangerous game because once you enter comparison, you lose control of perception. Customers were no longer asking if this was a Krispy Kreme donut, they were asking if it was worth it. And that's where things started to fall apart. When customers tried those distributed donuts, the ones sitting in boxes and delivered hours earlier, they experienced something completely different. Not warm, not fresh, not magical, just a donut. When expectation is high and reality is average, disappointment becomes amplified. The same brand that once created obsession now created doubt. And once doubt enters a brand, it spreads quickly. Customers talk, reviews appear, and social media amplifies everything. The narrative shifts from "this is amazing" to "this isn't what it used to be," and that single shift has destroyed more brands than competition ever could. But the real problem wasn't just perception, it was structural. Behind the scenes, the business model itself was breaking. To scale distribution, Krispy Kreme prioritized reach over freshness. Central production, mass delivery, and wider placement looked efficient, but they created a silent contradiction. The brand was built on freshness, but the system delivered delay. And that contradiction is lethal. When your operations contradict your identity, you're not just inefficient, you're inconsistent. And inconsistency destroys trust. This also wasn't the first time. The company had already experienced a similar collapse before, driven by the same mistakes: growth over discipline, expansion over understanding, and short-term gains over long-term stability. And yet, it happened again. Why? Because of expectation. Not from customers, but from investors. Public companies live under constant pressure to grow faster every quarter. When organic growth slows, they start forcing it through new markets, new channels, and new partnerships, even when those decisions don't make long-term sense. The McDonald's partnership is a perfect example. It wasn't built on customer experience, it was built on scale potential. The focus was on numbers, reach, and revenue. But nobody asked the most important question: would it feel the same? Because if it doesn't feel the same, it doesn't matter how many people try it, they won't come back. And that's exactly what happened. Initial curiosity brought customers in, but the experience didn't bring them back. In business, repeat behavior is everything. One-time sales create spikes, but repeat customers build companies. Without repetition, growth becomes an illusion, and when that illusion fades, reality hits fast. Losses grow, complaints increase, prices rise to compensate, and quality drops under pressure. Suddenly, the brand that once felt premium starts to feel overpriced. Now it's not just losing customers, it's pushing them away. And the most brutal part is that they don't return. Once a brand breaks trust, rebuilding it is almost impossible. At this point, it might seem like this is just a story about bad decisions, but it's actually a pattern. You've seen it before in companies that confuse scale with strength, trade identity for growth, and forget why customers cared in the first place. Every time, the ending is the same. The market doesn't reward size, it rewards clarity. Clarity of value, clarity of experience, and clarity of identity. Krispy Kreme lost that clarity. And when a brand loses clarity, it starts chasing everything: more locations, more partnerships, more products. But the more it chases, the further it drifts from what made it work. Eventually, it stops leading and starts reacting. And reacting is how companies fall behind. This story isn't just about donuts. It's about a much bigger idea. In today's world, almost every business is trying to scale faster than ever before. Technology makes it easier, distribution is wider, and reach is global. But the real question isn't whether you can scale, it's whether you should. Because not everything is meant to be everywhere. Some things only work because they are limited, controlled, and experienced rather than delivered. The moment you remove that, you don't grow, you dilute. That's the real lesson here. Krispy Kreme didn't fail because it expanded, it failed because it expanded the wrong thing. It scaled distribution instead of protecting experience. And once that balance breaks, it doesn't matter how big you get, you've already lost what made you valuable. So the next time you see a brand suddenly everywhere, ask yourself one question. Did they grow, or did they dilute? Because the answer to that question often determines how the story ends. And if you're starting to notice how these patterns repeat across different companies and industries, that's exactly what we uncover here. Welcome to the Uncovered Context. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because once you start understanding the hidden logic behind these businesses, you stop seeing them as just brands and start seeing the system behind them.